Good evening. What you are about to hear is a veritable meeting of minds. Some of the ideas discussed may present as challenging for some. However, we feel those joining us will find themselves somewhat enlightened by the experience. We welcome you to indulge yourself in a conversation with gentlemen.
Did you receive verbal consent from my cat before you stuck your finger
What?
in its face and it bit you?
No, Your Honor. But your cat didn't receive verbal consent to come on my lap and start sniffing and licking my hand region.
That wasn't the question. What's up, everybody? I'm Pat.
I'm Vinny.
Vinny, you're being mad invasive today. You know that?
I asked a simple question.
You invaded my cat's personal space. You invaded my comfort zone.
I mean, it's what I do.
I don't appreciate any of it, to be honest with you.
All I asked was a very simple question. And that question was, if you would
Gasket, don't beat around the bush. Ask it again. Upset me again.
The question was, if you would ever let a lady eat
No.
the butt.
No.
And then you said no immediately, just like you did. And then I asked you why. And you got mad that I asked you why. And compared it to me asking someone why they were not ticklish.
It's the correct response. Look, some people are ticklish. Some people like to have their groceries eaten out. Not one of them.
I know. But
I'm not downing people who do. I'm not. So, listen. Like I told you before.
You are a lot calmer now.
I am not. Oh, it's going to escalate.
It's going to so much more tame.
I am not genetically built to enjoy it. Do I down other people for enjoying it? No.
Yes.
No.
You absolutely do.
I don't look down on them for it.
Okay. Yeah, it's because you don't know that about everyone that you see. If you ran into someone and you knew they ate ass like less than 12 hours before talking to you, you'd be
Then
like,
get
listen.
like at least fucking 6 feet away from my face. Absolutely.
Right. Well, yeah, even pre-corona times, you would tell them, hey, back the fuck up.
I got to put a little mask on you.
Yeah, you need a mask.
I got to put a mask on you.
I smell it.
You're
I
not allowed
almost
to
taste
do
it a little bit.
You're not allowed to talk to me.
Right. See,
Learn American Sign Language.
This is what I'm saying, but you don't know that about everyone, so that's why you're saying you don't down it, but you would if you knew.
Don't
That's
make me a bad person.
case in point. It's nobody's business what anybody does behind closed doors, but I'm asking you about what you're into because we're doing a thing here.
I'm not in, and I told you no, I'm not into it. I don't understand. And you proceeded to try to make me seem like a bad person for having a preference.
No, I didn't. You felt that way.
You're not gonna come at me and like hawk loogies at my oil rings and expect me to be cool with it. Don't care.
You want see, but you imagine loogies on the hoop, which is like that. That's a graphic thing to think about. I mean, just if somebody was just giving a little kiss.
I don't like a wet donut.
Oh man, I'm like a fucking 12-year-old.
You are a fucking child.
I'm giggling like a
you?
fucking fool.
How dare you? No, because at the end of the day, all right, like I said, I am a man. I know the troubles of swamp butt, mud butt, and to volunteer that is not something I'm into. I don't have the whatever you call it, pleasurable satisfaction of having those things done. I'm not built that way. And it's nobody's fault. And I am not to be judged.
God's fault.
It's not. The Grand Creator made me everything but there, man. That's my new
Everything but there.
Everything
man.
but there, man. And like I said, got a hairy butt.
Well,
not
yeah,
gonna
but okay,
not gonna
like,
like
this
shave
is the
out a
whole-
bullseye on that and
that's the
tell
whole
people
thing.
that's what I'm into, because that's extra creepy.
The whole thing is, if it's gonna be done, there has to be maintenance. I feel like, so like it's not, you cannot just, it's not spur of the moment. This is what I'm saying.
No, it's
like
pregame.
if it was like, all right, it was like you kind of, it was previously discussed, and then fucking,
What?
you know what I'm saying? Like,
No, that means you went from the discussion to prepping.
yeah, right.
And prepping means that no, it's too much thought. It's too much thought. Anything that requires that much prepping is too much thought.
Why?
Especially if it is something you are in fact into. That
Dude.
means you go about your daily going, better make sure it's all clean and
Right.
smooth down there for
Yeah.
the next tongue.
Hey man, ladies are nice enough to do that for us. First of all, second of all, people's sex lives are so complicated that they require like an extensive array of tools and the like. So,
Even rooms, like full rooms.
yeah,
This is my naughty room.
right. That's what I'm saying. So you complaining about having to fucking trim the hedges around the ass a little bit is just fucking,
No,
it's preposterous.
I have
in
multiple
comparison, if I'm
reasons
being
not
honest.
to do it. I am just black enough to be
Again.
in more danger
We're gonna go this
than
route?
you.
We're gonna go this route.
Yes, yes, because it's a very
It is
like,
it's a
reasonable
legitimate argument. It is reasonable. I'll
If
give
I
that to
get
you.
put into a situation, and the first thing they kind of make you have to strip down. They search you, and the first thing I'm not going to be judged for by the cop that has to search me is, oh,
What if they're impressed?
they're not going to be, and I doubt I'd be the first one who went in there like that too. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sure some other dude who got locked up had the same conversation with his friend a week before this all happened and then agreed to it and then got locked up. And this cop is like, what and why?
I don't think people are like going to jail like to cruise for action. I mean, I wouldn't be fucking surprised to hear that, but I'm pretty.
I'm not saying they're
pretty sure that's
cruising
not
for
it.
action, Vin. I'm not saying that jail is the, like, what is
It's a hookup.
The
spot.
male Tinder? What is the
Grinder.
grinder? I'm not saying jail is
It's a
the
brick and mortar grinder.
in a brick and mortar grinder store. I'm just saying that there's a lot of things that have to go into it that, not into the butt, but I'm sure like at some point they do. I'm just saying that they search you, orifice and all, when you go in there, and the last thing I need is someone inspecting me and seeing a like I said, like a shaven crop circle in the middle of my hairy ass that's calling for fucking visitors,
But at that point, it's like a donut.
beckoning.
But what if they think that you're just courteous for having done that?
That you
since
knew you were
since
going to
they
get
have
locked
to-
up, and they knew
have
they
to
had
go
to
in
stick
there
a couple
anyway.
of fingers in there
I mean,
with
they-
the rubber glove.
You're kind of
Good, you knew.
yeah.
Thanks for not making this such a difficult test. I
Right,
hate
yeah.
getting little hairs on my gloves.
I hate when I have to comb through dingleberries to get
No.
my flashlight up your ass.
No. And number one, we really need to get into the fact that having a hairy butt does not mean you have a dirty ass.
Right. Okay.
You wash your
I-
ass just like
right.
everybody else.
Right. When I say,
If
I mean,
it's hairy enough, shampoo and condition that shit.
when I say clean,
Make it
I just
soft.
mean like, all right, hair. If you look at something that's hairy as opposed to something that's shaved, it's like,
You don't want anything to do with it.
no, that's not true.
You have a hair.
But what
on
I'm
a
saying
fucking
is,
butt,
like,
you do.
It's there's like stuff there, so not that it looks dirty, but there's stuff in the way.
There's stuff there.
So if you move the stuff out of the way, it would look cleaner
No.
by comparison. It's a semantic.
It's not
thing.
inviting. And that's the whole fucking point. I'm not going to invite people to the party. It's not happening. All right?
You're a selfish lover.
What in the hell? If I wanted someone to do that, I'd still be considered a selfish lover. Even, like, because that means that if I didn't do it back, I'd be a selfish lover. That would make me a selfish lover.
What if they really wanted it?
They really wanted to just lick a butt?
Yeah.
Then they got something, in my opinion, wrong with them.
Okay,
Because-
but that's not for you to judge.
I have already.
Well,
I already have judged that. Look, that is a one-sided pleasurable moment. That is a favor done to somebody else. That's what that is. Am I wrong? So there are people out there that like that stuff, but just because now there's a sick, sadistic person who likes uppercutting people in the balls, and they've surprised you with that stuff, would you be okay with it?
No.
And then they're gonna sit down and judge you like you're judging me.
No, but it's all right. That's a stretch.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, because that you're not physically harming anything by licking a butt.
You're physically harming my emotional state.
That does does not make sense.
What do you mean? My feelings don't matter? I don't understand what you mean by that.
You
doesn't
can't
make sense.
physically harm someone's emotions. I can't punch you in your fucking soul.
You already have been. You 100% have.
Yes. Damage has been dealt.
Vin, do you remember when you took a whole bunch of that purple drink and tried to play a show?
Kind of.
You looked at me while you were on the drums in the middle of the show and go, I think I'm overdosing on tryptophan.
Did I?
Yes.
I don't remember this, but did I go into a coma?
You literally looked me dead in the face. You were playing the drums and you gave me like the head nod of like, yo, come here. I walked over to you and you go, dude, I think I'm ODing on tryptophan. Because you had like 12 of these fucking like purple. Okay, so back in the day there was a drink and it got discontinued for obvious reasons. But it was a relaxation drink called Purple Drank.
It was called Drank.
Oh, Drank. No, it was called Purple Drank.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right.
And it was basically...
It had melatonin in it. It had valerian root.
Yeah.
It had something else.
I think it was tryptophan.
I don't know.
Because it's the same stuff that's in turkeys, right?
Yeah, but that's like... That shit will kill you, I think.
I understand. You thought you were dying, though, so...
Wasn't this at the studio?
No, this was at a show. I think it was at the Cup. Because we went over to the gas station before the show, which is near the studio. And we went over there. This is when I was drinking them every once in a while to calm myself down. Because I was like, oh, this works. Like,
yeah, and that's
it
I was doing the same thing.
Basically,
doing the same thing you were doing.
It was legal canned scissor.
Yeah, with no booze, but yeah, just fucking take it down.
Yeah, take it down a notch. You had like 8 of them before we went on.
It was the opposite of an energy drink.
Yeah, you drank as many of them as you do Monsters.
I've chilled out with that. I just go ham.
I know, but this
now.
was before you chilled out. How many Monsters did you drink at the height of Monster Town? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't say Monster. The Beast drink. Beast juice.
It was... I would have 3 of the fucking big cans.
You'd have 3 of the big cans.
72 ounces of Monster.
72 fucking ounces?
Like 4 times a week. Yeah. Yeah, that was the height of it.
That's 72 ounces of Beast juice.
Beast juice. Straight up Beast juice. I was crushing them. This is when I was working in a drugstore. And I would just go in, and with my fucking employee discount, I would buy 2 of them because they were always like 2 for $5. And then I had already had one earlier in the day because I was working 3 jobs at the time.
That's too much. That's too much energy drink.
You missed the part where I said I was working 3 fucking jobs at the time.
I know, but goddamn, Vin.
Yeah, it didn't do anything good to my body. I have to say that. It helped me keep my eyes open.
You hit an energy wall at some point.
I did. I was poisoning my body, Patrick. That's what I was doing to myself.
Well, back to the thing. You got what was the opposite of energy drink.
Right.
Okay. So you got the opposite of what is energy drink, which is non-energy, which is sleepy juice.
Right.
Sleepy juice.
Sleepy drank.
Sleepy drank.
Right before we were going to work.
Right before we were going to work. You downed, we'll say, a safe 72 ounces of melatonin juice.
It was a lot.
And then you tried to play a show.
Yeah.
A metal show.
Yeah. It's not normal.
Now,
y'all guys are always telling me how fast I was playing in practice. So
I think that was the whole reason.
Let's pump the fucking brakes.
I think you're like, yeah, if I drink 72 ounces of melatonin, then I'll be able to slow it down a little bit.
Yeah, man.
You did that.
Sure did.
And you freaked out in the middle of this show.
Sure did.
And now I'm scared because you don't remember the fact that I remember this so well. You beckoned me over.
I really don't remember
in the middle of this set, and you literally looked at me dead in the eyes and said, I think I'm ODing.
That's I believe it.
All right,
I believe it. That's definitely 100% something I would say.
The best part about this is right after we were done playing our set, you like walked off and you literally kept it going with like everything's slowing down, man. My heart's beating too slow.
Yeah, I'm gonna
die. You did this. You also played a show before I met you. High on cough syrup.
Oh man, I was telling that story yesterday. Fuck, that was that was brutal.
You also got so drunk you puked up life and everything, therefore, and right before a show in Atlantic City.
Yeah, that was good. I was getting ready to tell that one.
I was so mad at you.
Yeah, I know.
You nailed it.
Y'all guys hated me.
You know, we had to ice you down in the fucking parking lot like 5 minutes before we played.
That was good ice. That was a good ice down. I very much needed that. Thank you, Keith, for helping me out in my time of need. What happened was, that was a fucking brutal day. So we showed up, right? We were supposed to play a show in Atlantic City, New Jersey, right?
Yeah.
We were fucking excited. We get rocking and rolling. Show days were fun, man. We would fucking be all hype all day long. And it was a whole big fucking thing. So we get down to the venue, and we always showed up super early because we wanted to seem like professionals. And we get to the venue, and the booking agent is in the venue arguing with the owner about how there's supposed to be a show there tonight. So she, we were fucking waiting in the van. I think, you or Josh were going in and out dealing with her. And long story short, her and the owner got into an argument, and the show wasn't allowed to be had at this venue. So we were sitting around pretty much for the rest of the day. She told us to hang out while she tried to situate a show for us because she didn't want us to have had come there for no reason. So we wait, and throughout the course of the day, I had brought a couple grams of weed with me, so I'm smoking weed. And then while this promoter is all fucking pissed off in the interim before she got her shit together, we were at the bar drinking with her.
Yeah.
And we were drinking liquid heroin shots, which is Jägermeister, Goldschlager, and Rumpelmints.
I didn't drink that. I don't like any of those things.
Oh, man. I call it fucking Satan's mouthwash.
Oh,
that shit is brutal.
That's nasty.
Yeah, and I was hammering Guinnesses, smoking weed, drinking liquor, drinking beer, blah, blah, blah. And this shit went on for about 4 or 5 hours in the hot sun in Atlantic City. And then we finally get around to being able to like glom on to a show that's happening next door at the bar next door. They told us we could have our show after they finish the show that they're having.
Yes.
So we finally like get to the point where it's time to load in, right? And all of a sudden my world fucking starts spinning, and I grab a stack of my drums. This is what I remember. The van, I grab a stack of drums, I go to turn, and I fucking felt myself going, and I had the presence of mind, because I'm a fucking drummer first. I turned and I put my drums down, and then I fucking passed out on my back. Like, tits up, in a parking lot in fucking Atlantic City, which if you haven't been there, it's pretty hood. It's not the place you want to be down and out with shit in your pockets.
All right, I'm going to put a pause there. Because at this point, you had blacked out.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you everything that happened when you blacked out.
Yeah.
Okay. So at this point, Vin is blacked out in the parking lot of this bar, next to our van, in between like a car and our van.
Yeah.
And I'm inside the venue trying to get some stuff situated with Josh. And I think it was Keith that like ran inside and goes, Vinny's down, bro.
Man down.
Vinny is like out cold. Like it's done. I'm like, where the fuck is Vin? I'm like, number one, it was like right before the band right before us was finishing up, and it was time to load in.
Right.
And as soon as I hear this, I'm like, where the fuck is he? And Keith goes, he's outside. He's like, he's unconscious. So my first thought was, oh no, something's just wrong with Vin. So like I grab Josh and we run outside and we see you. You passed out. You puked right before you passed out.
Oof.
So you were laying in almost a pile of your own vomit.
Metal
And
as fuck.
I look down and I'm like, this motherfucker. I'm like, any time but now would have been fine. But now, like literally 5 minutes before we're supposed to go on, I'm like, how dare he?
Like the parent who gets mad at the kid for getting hurt.
Yeah. So I'm like, how dare this man? And I'm like, Keith, you go in that fucking bar and you get me as many bags of ice or fucking cups of ice, whatever you can fucking get. I'm like, and you bring it here right the fuck now.
Yeah.
And he runs in. Josh is playing like Mama Bird. Like, oh, dude, like, don't be mad at him. Like, don't be upset.
Yeah. And I think Ant was still trying to load gear in.
Yeah. Ant was just being the oblivious dude. He was like, I'm not dealing with any of this.
I got to give y'all guys credit, man. Yo, fucking gang. Y'all guys came running to my aid. Fucking blessed, man. I'm happy to have friends like you guys.
But we fucking, Keith comes out with like a fucking armful of like ice cups. And I'm like, pour it down this motherfucker's back right now. So we pour it down, we're rubbing it into your back, and you fucking like shoot awake real quick, and you're like, oh, and you go again. You know, I'm just like, all right. And I try to catch eyes with you. I'm just like, listen here, you son of a bitch. I'm like, you're going to sober the fuck up as fast as possible, and you're going to get your ass behind that drum set.
Yep.
And I will give you credit. You did.
I played a hell of a fucking show, man.
You nailed it. You nailed that show, and I gave you credit for it afterwards. I'm like, you fucking soldiered through that shit. And then I looked at you and I went, if you ever do that shit again.
Hold on. Can I tell you what I remember after coming to?
Yes, absolutely.
Because we went into the bar after, right? I'm finally, I'm back, right?
Yes.
And then I walk in because it's time. I got to set my gear up. Josh was setting all my gear up. I fucking love this kid, man. He set my whole kit up. He was like a drum tech, guitar tech, killer guitar player. Fucking hooked me up that night. And I get in there and I'm trying to fucking chill out and get it together. And the band that was playing was a fucking like keyboardist.
Yeah, they were like a noise.
And a violinist and a drummer and a singer. And they were just going bananas. It was fucking absolute noise garbage. Like, I mean, cool if that's what you're into. I probably would have appreciated it another time.
It's the first thing you want to hear when you wake up from being blacked out drunk.
Yo.
It's the first nightmarish fucking soundtrack of
It's almost like I just got done hearing that in my head while I was dead.
And now it's real.
Yeah, now it's real. Like, yeah, so we went in and I just remember like sitting there like with my head in my hands, and I was like, I wish they would stop. So we could just play and then I could go in the van and sleep. It was so intense. It hurt my brain. But yeah, man, y'all guys fucking helped me through that shit. I fucked up that night and then I, came back, play the drums because that's what I do. Drummer first.
That was the night. I think what was the name of Joey's band? That like death metal band.
Vendetta?
No. It wasn't Vendetta. There was another band there who had a black lead singer or whatever. We played a couple of shows with them. I'm blanking on their name right now.
Joey's band? Joey?
Yeah, I don't think you really knew Joey like that.
Joey who?
I don't think you knew him like that. He was a guitarist for another band that we
okay.
played with a couple of times. And
you think of Trireme?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were fucking dope.
That was the night that their singer got into a fight with the skinheads down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude literally got into a fist fight with like a group of skinheads in Atlantic City that night.
Yeah.
That we didn't know until after we left. Because apparently this dude was like walking around like the block or something like that, and a group of skinheads started with him.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Dude, Atlantic City was nuts.
Yeah, that was a crazy fucking show. You know what I was just thinking about for some reason? Just came back in my brain. You remember that basement show that we played in Brooklyn? It was on like fucking... So it was somewhere in like Bushwick. I think I drive past this place where it was because I have like vague memories.
Basement show in Brooklyn.
Yeah. It was a Halloween show. We played this band, All the Heathers Are Dying, played. They were all dressed up like Where's Waldo, and for the last song, the singer stood in like a cardboard box lined with a trash bag and just dumped like 5-gallon jug of fake blood on his head while his band played a breakdown.
It's so weird that I remember like spots of this. But are you sure it wasn't the Morgan or something?
The Morgan. It was the basement of the Morgan.
Yeah, the basement of the Morgan.
Yeah.
That was in Williamsburg.
Williamsburg. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
they're right next to each other.
That was the place that had the Thai food restaurant right next door.
I'm pretty sure I drive past that place a lot.
No, that place is legit. I'm not sure if the Thai food restaurant's still there, but they had some banging pad Thai.
Yeah.
That's actually where I met Ricky for the first time.
Is it?
Yeah, Ricky Armellino. I met him for the first time there. I helped This or the Apocalypse like load in all their stuff because I had nothing better to do.
Was that before we started playing Champs with them?
Well, yeah, no, it was far before that. But they would play Champs all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, yeah, that's how I remember the Morgan, just because like Ricky, who was the singer of This or the Apocalypse, became a really good friend of mine. But it all started because I went to a show at the Morgan with Keith, and they were on a tour run, and like being a musician at a show that you're not playing or whatever, I was kind of sticking around. I was talking to everybody.
Right.
I ended up talking with him for a while, and then the next thing you knew, I was like helping them load up their van and everything with all their gear. Ended up taking photos with them and all this stuff, and that's when like Ricky, being the coolest fucking dude he is, just like looked at me and goes, "We need to hang out."
Hell yeah.
Like, you know, like it was like the equivalent of like two grown men going, "You want to be friends?"
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. He was like, "We need to hang out," and then I was like, "All right, dude." So I hit him up on Facebook. He was like, "Come to PA, chill." I was like, "All right, dude."
Yeah, Ricky's a good dude.
But yeah, that we played. Yeah, I remember because I was like, I think it was after I met Ricky that we played that show, because that's how I knew about the Thai food place. And I was like, we need to go get Thai food from the place that's next door to this immediately. Like, because number one, the lady who owns the Thai food restaurant owned the venue downstairs. Like this little like Asian lady who was like the coolest lady on earth. And she would come down and she would offer food every once in a while to like bands that were playing, like come up and have food. But yeah, I was like, dude, like I told Josh, I'm like, you want some fucking pad Thai? Because this place is fucking real. And he was like, yeah, dude, absolutely.
Yeah. I remember the Halloween show that we played there though. That shit got a little out of hand. There was a fight. I don't remember what band was playing. I think this might have been before we played, because I remember playing the set very amped up and aggressive. I remember in the middle of the song, you remember we used to stop at the end of Exploding Man and you guys would play that riff for the breakdown? I fucking did the hit and Josh was looking at me and I stood up and I got in his face. I was like, "Fuck you!" And he just like laughed and walked away. But yeah, there was a fight that happened, and so I'm standing here. The music is happening.
There was mad pillars in that room, right? Was there pillars?
I think there was a couple pillars. But I remember all the band's gear was stacked up like behind me, and people were like on it and shit like that. It was just road cases. So I'm standing here, the music is happening here, and you're here up on something.
Yeah.
And a fight breaks out, and people start like roughhousing and this and that and whatever. And all I remember is you fucking sliding down like a mountain of gear, like on a guitar case.
This wasn't when we were playing. This is when we were watching another band play.
This was right before.
Yeah, I was standing at a whole bunch of cases of gear or whatever. I was talking to another member of another band, and then this fight broke out. And to get into the middle of it, I had to like body slide, like sled down this fucking thing of gear. And I was like trying to get in the middle of it, like, yo, back the fuck off. Yo, Dad, I got into, like, every time stuff like that happened, my entrance into those things was always fairly animated, if I remember correctly.
But that one was just fucking epic. And then I remember, like, the dust settled or whatever, because there was always, like, little fights that would break out at these shows.
Especially in New York.
Yeah, and some of it, like, a lot of them ended up pretty civil. Like, you know, people would be like, all right, cool, or whatever, or the dickhead would leave. But, you know, so the dust cleared, right? And then fucking kids are going back to dancing, and somebody came flying, and they were like hung over one of my rack cases or whatever, and I don't remember who it was. Somebody had one of our stickers and just slaps this guy on the back with it, and then he just gets up and goes back in the pit.
I didn't see that.
It was fucking awesome. I think it might have been Johnny. He just like had it waiting. The kid was like down and fucking he was like, "What?" And then the kid just went right back in the pit.
That's fucking great.
Yeah, it was awesome. That was a fucking fun show, man.
Oh, that dude got tagged up.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I wish that I wish I'd seen that. That's
That was so fucking great, man.
oh my god.
I miss those fucking rowdy ass shows. Like,
oh my god, man. I was having a conversation with Bacon not too long ago, and we were talking about like New York shows and shit like that, and I was telling him, I'm like, the Machinist, the band I did a couple of runs with, we were having this conversation, and we were talking about, because he had played bass with us for a little bit,
right?
And we were going back and forth about, you know, like different places we had been. And I told him, I was like, oh, you know, he was like, oh, why did you stop your run with the Machinist? I was like, you know, things got a little bit dramatic after I had to move down to Texas. And he was like, what kind of drama? I'm like, it's fucking dumb New York drama. And he was like, oh, and his mind went straight to like, when did you hook up with someone's fucking girl? Like, how's that work? And I'm like,
that makes a lot of sense.
I'm like, no, I fucking moved. Like, that's just the way it is. Like, I moved and whatever happened. And then we started getting into it, and I'm like, he was talking about this other band, Gents, that I had played with. And I'm like, he was like, oh, you know, Gents, they're a whole bunch of like video game guys. And since you and I have been getting into the whole streaming thing on Twitch,
right?
And he was like, oh yeah, all Jinx, like they're all gamer dudes. And I'm like, oh, I met Jinx. Like they were all cool. It was a really awkward situation for me because when I went to go meet them, like number one at shows or whatever, like I'm an extremely, I wouldn't say super friendly like person, but I do like talk to everybody, especially if I'm playing the show. Yeah. Like you want to be able to talk to everybody you're playing a show with and all this other stuff. And
right.
If not like network, quote unquote, but like just you're going to run into them again. So, you know, you got to get some sort of repertoire going. So, you know how each other work and everything like that. And God forbid something happens where you end up on the road with them for a while. Right. You have that kind of at least familiarity with them.
Yeah, and it's this guy's cool.
And you have someone to talk with outside of like the fucking 4 or 5 people you're with. Right. Because you don't want to always have to, like, you don't want to be the dude at a show who, like, the only person you can talk to is, like,
your bandmates.
Your bandmates all the time. You want to be able to, like, go out and socialize. But, I was like, yeah, man, I met Jinx. It was super awkward because when I was playing with the Machinist, apparently they had drama with Jinx and all this other shit. And he was like, what kind of drama would you have? Like, they're all just nerds. Like everybody in Jinx is just a fucking nerd. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. All I know is, like, I was trying to be fucking friendly with these people. And then I get, like, told, like, it's super awkward between us and them right now, so, you know, just be careful. And I'm like, I'm number one.
Just be careful. You be careful.
I'm like, number one, with
our problems,
I have no issue with anybody here.
Right.
So, like, please don't make this awkward for me.
Yeah. Yeah, like, what are you doing here?
Please don't make this awkward for me. And it's funny because, like, everybody in both those bands is just, like, at the end of the day, they're all little sweethearts. And I'm just like, bro, like,
yeah,
you guys need to learn. I'm like, this is after, like, Deception Theory and all this other stuff, but we had played with so many different types of people.
Yeah, that's one thing I gotta say is, like, there was, in all the people that we met, there are very few that were, like, absolute dicks. Like, yo, fuck this guy. You know what
even
I mean?
The ones that were, I think, for... What was it? When we played that one place on Staten Island where we had to bounce out to go do another show.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay. But
like, even them, like, I had a conversation with one of them after that happened. Like, so basically we played the show. A show that we put together.
Yeah.
So we put together this show. I ended up pretty much running the thing for somebody and showed up early, ended up buying everybody food, all this other stuff. And this was, I think Aegeon was on that one.
Yeah, that show was fucking sick, man. I have a picture of their singer doing like some kind of low growl, and he's got a huge vein in his neck. It's fucking epic.
Yeah, Aegeon played it, Awaken Providence, a couple other people.
Yeah, that was like early A-Whip when there was like 3 members. They're so good, man.
Basically, what ended up happening was, like, I show up early, and the touring bands came in early, and I showed up. Nobody who was technically supposed to run the show was there, so these touring bands are sitting around, can't get into the venue, all this other stuff. I live like 2 minutes away from this fucking venue. Mm-hmm. So I show up, and I'm like, listen, guys, I tell them where to park their van, where it's safe, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, y'all guys stay there. If you want, hop in my car. I'll take y'all guys. We'll go get some food and stuff while we wait for things.
Yeah.
So I'm like taking these guys around. I'm like getting them fed and everything. Show back up to the venue. We get everything rolling. Everything's all good. And then basically that night we had to play that show and then immediately bounce out to another place. I think that it was right before we were going to Ohio. No, that was a different one.
We got invited by another promoter that we were friends with to come and fill a slot that a band had just dropped out of.
So we were going to help this other promoter do another show.
Right.
So basically, and we stayed until Aegeon and everything too.
Yeah.
But basically what ended up happening is there was one band who did an old school move of if you show up late to your time slot, you get a headlining slot type of thing where they were trying to be the last ones there, which is whatever, it happens. But we show up, we play, we stay for Aegeon, who was supposed to be kind of like, they ended up getting the money slot anyway, because you never want to be the headlining band at a fucking local show. It's
Especially
always like the second
show.
to last or the last, like, you know what I mean? The good slots like second to last or right before that, and that's when the most people are there.
Right.
So Aegeon plays, and this is a touring band that's been around for a while. They don't even fucking complain. They're just like, whatever, dude. We just want to go on and do our shit and bounce.
They went ham, dude.
They killed it. But yeah, so we play our set. We stay for Aegeon, who was supposed to be the last band. This other band shows up in the middle of like Aegeon's set.
Starts loading in.
Setting
up merch.
And we are like, all right, cool, man. After Aegeon, like, we have to go because we have to meet this time. We have to meet this time slot for the other promoter, so we have to get loaded back up and leave or whatever. So we say our goodbyes to everybody.
Right.
We say our goodbyes as this other band is loading in.
Mm-hmm.
And we bounce out. Everybody's cool with it. Everybody kind of understands what's going on.
Or so we think.
Yeah, except for the band that just shows up.
Right. All they see is us leaving, though, so I can see why.
Us leaving while they're trying to do their thing. And I'm sure at that point that a lot of other people had left too, because they were supposed to be there like 4 hours prior to play this thing.
Right.
So we bounce out. The next day or two goes by, and the guitarist of this band who showed up late is just fucking dogging us. Like saying some like, oh, you know, it's disrespectful, blah, 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 what these guys did. And it's funny because we already had built a reputation of being like, number one, probably one of the most like courteous, like, well-liked group of individuals in that like scene, because number one, like, we would give you gear to use. We would give you fucking anything you fucking needed.
Yeah, like people were excited to be on shows with us.
Because they knew like they were set. Like we would get shit done. But this guy goes on and he starts like trying to blast us online, and like everybody's just like, bro, that's not how they work. Number one, if they had something to do, they had something to do. Like, they don't just leave. Like, these are guys that like, even if a couple of them leave, most of them will stay until whatever. But you know, people got shit to do. Especially on local things where it's like, if we all live on the island or whatever, most of us, if we have work the next day, like some of us will go and some of us will stay. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But either way, at this point, we all just left, took our shit, and kind of bounced out because we had to. We had an obligation.
Yeah.
So we do this. The guy's kind of trying to, you know, blast us. He's like, oh, you know, it's disrespectful. It's people like this that ruin the scene, blah, blah, blah. And everybody pretty much tells him, like, no.
Yeah, you're wrong.
You're absolutely wrong. And I get a message, like I think it was like a week or two later, because we ignored it. We didn't say anything to the dude. It's like, dude, you feel how you feel. But I get a message from the singer of that band, and he's like, I am so fucking sorry.
Yeah.
That like this dude said these things. He's no longer with us. This, and this.
Yeah. No longer in the band.
I think I messaged him back. I was like, bro, it's not that big of a deal. I was like, to be honest with you, we felt bad, but we had to help another promoter out. Yeah. We had to go and do this stuff. Which if we hadn't had to do, we would have stayed forever. We had literally nothing to do that night.
Yeah, we love staying at shows.
And plus, we had a whole bunch of bands that were friends. Like, we had no reason to leave. Like, we were fucking, like, actual friends with 99% of the people there. Yeah. Those are all people, like, we live within, like, 15 minutes of. Like, those are all our people.
Yeah.
And we had to go fill a slot for people we don't know.
Right. Yeah. I don't even remember that second show. I don't remember who was on it.
The second show, I think, was
Dock Street or something?
No. The second show was actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think we went to Jersey. I think it was for Michelle in Trenton.
Was it?
I think so, if I remember correctly. Because I remember there was 2 times that happened to us.
Yeah, there's
2 times that I remember.
Yeah, I feel like
I think that one was
more.
I think that one was the Michelle show. She asked us, she hit us up and said, "Hey, do you guys want to fill a slot for so and so and so and so?"
Right.
We went in. That was still a good show. Like we got in there and we actually had a really good time with that one too.
Yeah.
But it's like, bro, like at the end of the day, if you're playing music and you have any sort of professionalism to you, like we played a local show that at the end of the day we ended up having to run half of.
Yeah. Which was usually the case.
Yeah, but it also was one of those things where, like, if you had shown up on time, you would have seen that show probably wouldn't happen if we hadn't even shown up, number one. And not to sound uber fucking, like, you know, pompous about it, but, like, we put in a lot of fucking work to help these guys. Like, we don't have to do that. We could have shown up and sat outside and been like, oh, no one's here. And then did whatever.
Yeah, where's our crowd?
Yeah.
You promised the crowd.
Well, not even a crowd. Like the door to the venue was locked.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and no one was getting a hold of anybody. And by the time it opened up, it was the owner of the building, not even the guy who was throwing the show, who came in and goes, "Oh, y'all guys still doing this?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, just open it up. We'll get everything loaded in. It's all good."
Yeah, we got.
He's like, "Where's so and so?" And then I'm like, "I don't know. I'm gonna get a hold of him right now." I ended up running half of this show, feeding people. Like I think I fed Asian and a couple other people out of my own fucking pocket.
You
I'm
were
like,
very big on making sure guys were fed and stuff like that.
You gotta be, especially if you're fucking touring. If you're on the fucking road, like, I'm sorry, dude. Especially if you're playing a show like that one, where it's in like a warehouse in the middle of fucking Staten Island, where it's not like a venue, dude.
Yeah, people don't come to fucking Staten Island.
And there isn't exactly a green room or something. Like, you don't have a writer there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna, like, as a musician to another fucking musician, it's like, I'm gonna make sure you get fucking fed, if anything. Like, come on. Like, I'll drop $20 to get y'all guys a pizza. Like, it's not that fucking big of a deal.
Right.
And I will honestly say that I wish that was something that was everybody's case, because I remember even going and playing shows in Trenton at Champs. And, like, Champs, for instance, it's a bar.
Bar and grill.
I think I played with some band who's like all their members are vegetarian, and they were from out of town. And I was like, they were like, "Where do we get fucking food around here?" And I'm like, "Oh, I mean, this is a place." He's like, "No, this is a bar and grill. Like, I need vegetarian. Like, I can't do this." I'm like, "Oh, dude, I got you." So I ordered in vegetarian shit for him. I'm like, "Whatever y'all guys want, just tell me. I'll put it into like the DoorDash thing or whatever, and I'll get y'all guys fucking fed."
God, that's got to be a rough life on tour, man.
Doing the veggie?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Because Amanda, the singer of The Machinist, she was vegetarian. And, like, we would all go. Like, it was easy as hell to get food for us.
Yeah.
And then, like, she would just be like, "Do they have, like, an eggplant thing or something?" And it's just like, no, we're in the middle of, like, fucking, like, West Virginia. There's no eggplant.
Yeah, there's barbecue.
But no, it was, for as many times as I've had to deal with musicians who feel a certain way about like us as people, has always been fairly positive. Even when we were always like the big brother band when we went anywhere.
Yeah, especially if there was like a group of younger dudes, you know, and they looked like a little out of sync or whatever. They didn't know how to like kind of go through the motions of getting on and off stage or stuff like that. You know, a lot of guys would forget shit. Especially drummers. We all smoke a lot of pot, and we're generally a dumb class of people. But yeah, man, fucking that was cool. That was something I really enjoyed, like playing with bands and just meeting different people. And I remember we used to go to Mojo 13 in Maryland.
Was that Maryland or Delaware?
Delaware, sorry. Yeah, it was in Delaware, and that place was fucking cool, man. I remember meeting a lot of fucking cool people there, man.
Well, we met, what was it? When Deception Theory played there, we met Gemini Syndrome. I remember that one.
Yep. His name was Iron.
Those dudes are fucking awesome.
Yeah, and their drummer, fucking, that guy, I still remember this clear as day. We finished the set, and I think this was, did they play before or after us?
His name was Iron, played...
Like right...
Before.
Is it before us?
No, I'm sorry, right after us.
I think it was right after.
Yeah, right after us.
And yeah, because I was talking to their drummer outside, and he was like, "You're a jazz guy, right?" To me, and I was like, "How the fuck do you know this?" He was like, I'm cut from the same cloth, man. I could tell by how you were playing what you were playing. And I was like, yo, that's a fucking keen eye you got there, man.
Yeah.
And me and the dude, we were kind of ripping it up because I remember watching him play, and he was hitting like fills and shit the same way I was like coming off him the same way. And I'm like, yeah, man, like this guy gets it. Fucking, he was really cool. They were a great band.
Well, it was like the biggest thing about being in some sort of band like that was to meet a whole bunch of new people. Like that's the reason you fucking do that type of shit.
Yeah, well, we were trying to be rock stars, but I know I was.
I mean,
I wanted to be Chris Adler, man. I wanted the fucking big stage.
Yeah.
I wanted the big drum set. I wanted the big sound.
For me, it was always like, it was meeting other like-minded individuals was probably it ended up being the most satisfying thing over that, like meeting people like Ricky and like other musicians and shit like that you just end up hanging out with a lot.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the most gratifying ththings. But I think as far as like playing the actual music, like for me, like moving people and like getting like what I mean when I say that is not necessarily emotionally, although we did have that impact on people sometimes, but I mean like getting people to want to fucking dance, and like even if people were just moving their head left and right, like they were into what we were doing.
Oh yeah, that's why I love playing like I love playing like PA and stuff like that so much.
Yeah, great crowds there, man. Good
Great people. I mean, those were the people that like you go to certain places and you do these type of things and you start realizing that there are certain places more so than others that just have an attention span that's way longer. Not an attention span, a memory that's way longer than other places you go.
Right.
Because you can like play like twice in PA and the group of people in that scene will remember you for like the next 5 years.
Seriously,
like type
man.
of thing. Like if you run into them, they're like, "Oh man!" Like they'll remember you.
Yeah, I was at this show and remember when this happened. Yeah, that shit. Yeah, those.
Meanwhile,
I
like
love that shit.
it's like the opposite for some place like New York. Like he played twice in New York, and their like memory is like,
oh, people are like, oh, did you? Were you at that show?
yeah, exactly, yeah. But I remember even like playing with Deception Theory in like Jersey and stuff. I would go to Jersey every once in a while, and where Josh lived, there was like the Deptford Mall or whatever, and we'd go in there, and every once in a while. We'd go into the Deptford Mall, and some people would just like point out, be like, Deception Theory, and like me and Josh are so fucking antisocial when it came to that shit.
Yeah.
When it came to shit like that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They were like, "No, you're mistaken."
Nah, man, it's not me.
I don't know who that is.
Somebody else.
Like I've never done that in my life. And then there was one time in the Staten Island Mall. Mm-hmm. I walked in there, and I think this is when the Hot Topic place was open or whatever.
Right.
And I was walking around there with one of my friends, Rachel or whatever. We were walking through the Staten Island Mall, and this kid. I came out of the Hot Topic because I was looking for jeans or some shit. Came out of the Hot Topic Mall, and there was like these two kids or whatever that just like did that thing where they're like fucking poser. And this chick, Rachel, turns around and goes, "Do you know who the fuck this is?" And I looked at her. I'm like, "You don't do that."
Yeah, no,
like,
you don't want to do that.
I'm a fucking poser,
it's
bro.
Not
like,
even
let it
like
be.
that right now, and you're making the block.
And
hot
she's
right
like, she has like that fucking like two-door. She was like, "This is one of the dudes who plays in one of the heaviest fucking bands around New York right now. You will fucking shut your goddamn mouth." And I'm just like,
respect that.
I'm like, hand across the throat, like, cut it. Like, I'm a poser. I'll always be a poser. Like, let them call me a poser.
That's dope, though. That's some ride or die shit.
That shit was fucking hilarious. I'm like, because when you think about it in the back of your mind, like, how would I handle that if that ever happened to me? And then that happened. I'm like, no.
All right. I remember having to fucking drop something like that on somebody one time because this kid was calling me a fucking something or other. I don't know, man. He was telling me about all the heavy music that he listens to, and I was like, nah, man. Like, this is where it's at. And he tried to call me, like, he was like, "Oh yeah, why? Because my music's not about like all bitches and hoes and this and that." Because how I was dressed, this kid thought I was like a hip hop dude, and I was like, "Buddy, you have it so wrong right now. Like, I'm in one of the fucking heaviest bands on the island right now. You obviously don't go to shows because I play fucking like every fucking weekend."
I can't with anybody like that. And the bad thing is, I remember growing up and getting into quote unquote like heavy fucking bands and shit, and you know you have that little mindset. I mean, no one can be as heavy as
yeah, we're the heaviest band ever.
No one can be into heavier music than I am right now. Slipknot is the fucking heaviest thing.
Don't talk about my fucking boys like that. Don't you fucking do it. I still love that band.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I'm sure there was heavier shit than fucking Slipknot back then.
No way, never.
Yeah.
It's the heaviest music.
That's when you still had like bands like Pig Destroyer and all that shit that were going on. And, you know, I got to play with fucking like Pig Destroyer and shit. And they're fucking heavy. Like,
yeah, very heavy.
And here I am, like even Napalm Death, when I met Napalm Death, and I'm like, these old fuckers are insane. Like, how dare they?
Yeah.
And like, I just remember growing up, I'm like, you know, I'm getting into whatever I'm into, and I'm like, oh, you know, if I run into someone, this was when Hot Topic was like the fucking Outcast store to go into before it became like the fancy lettered shit. And I'd go into Hot Topic and get my spikes on my fucking bracelets and fucking walk out of there like, look at me.
Oh, you remember hat spikes?
No, I didn't do hat spikes.
I did hat spikes.
But yeah, I remember I would look at people and be like, fucking poser.
Yeah.
Like, and then like once that happened to me, and I'm like, oh, dude, I was a jerk as a kid. Like, I don't know anybody's fucking life. I could have been talking to whoever, dude. Like if I walked up to like the singer of Napalm Death, who just looks like a 60-year-old fucking old man, who probably like if I ran into him outside of Napalm Death and he was like, yeah, you know who's really hot right now, and named a band, I'm like, shut up, you old fucking poser. And he would be like,
dude,
what?
Fucking Corpse Grinder. My favorite thing about this man, he loves to shop at Target in the clearance section. You would just see this large fucking guy with no neck, like shopping through clearance and like, oh, dude, look at this fucking toy. And then if you asked him about metal, he'd probably give you some fucking knowledge, and you'd be like, yeah, all right, old man.
Yeah, whatever, you old fucking fart.
Right.
You fogey. Listen here, fogey.
You fogey. Yeah, man, I'm happy I'm not like that anymore. I used to be total fucking elitist. Like, I didn't even listen to hip hop because it was like when I was growing up, fucking new metal was out, and it was so funny because I was a huge new metal fan, and I was like, I don't like rap music. I'm gonna listen to this new metal, which is just rap with distortion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it still happens with me at work every once in a while because I work at a fucking music store, and at the end of the day, I get these people who come in and they're like, do you have any like fucking 7-string guitars? And I'm like, yeah, I got some 7 strings. And then I'll be like, are you looking for like what kind, like what
does Tosin play?
What does Tosin play? He plays his own guitars that he makes. That
what
he stole
does Misha
from Ibanez.
play?
Jackson, you want some Jacksons? But no, I'll go in and I'll just be like, I'll be sitting there or whatever, and like some kid, or even like not even a kid, like a man will come in who's trying to get into fucking metal shit, and he'll like start asking like, do you have this, and this? And I'll be like, yeah, you know, I got this kind of stuff. I'm like, I'll do the thing like, do you want my advice? And here I am wearing my fucking like deep V and like my skinny jeans.
You obviously know nothing. Where are your spikes?
Yeah, exactly. Like, where's your fucking long hair, dude? But like, they'll look at me like, you have no idea what you're talking about, and I'll look at them like, if you only knew what I knew about what I'm talking about right now.
Dude, I play R&B.
And like, and that's the whole thing. Like, I'll be sitting there in my own free time, and I'll just be playing like jazz shit.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, oh, you want to do like metal shit? And they'll be like, shut up, you classy little bitch.
Fucking little boy, get away from me.
Listen here, you classy bitch. Like, that's not what I'm about. And I'm just like looking at them like, God damn it.
Put your chest hair away.
Put your chest hair away. Put your smooth mocha chest back into your fucking shirt and fucking walk away from it.
Some fucking camo cargo shorts and some fucking
I need you to
Oakleys.
walk into the store like you're one of Lamb of God's biggest fans. I need you to dress exactly like them. I need Converses, camo shorts,
you gotta wear
and
the Mark
fucking
Morton
t-shirts.
costume.
Exactly. Dude, it's still to this day I remember the time when I met Randy, and I had the DVD. This was right after the Philadelphia thing.
Yeah.
And like right after that thing dropped. So like the only thing fresh on anybody's mind was his fight with Mark. And
God, they hate talking about that shit.
yeah, and it was just hilarious because I met him, he was talking to somebody else, and that person was talking to him about that shit. He's like, did that shit ever get resolved? Yeah, that's cool. And like Randy's just like,
no,
dude, it is what it is, like whatever. So he's in a bad mood by the time I walk up to him.
Yeah.
And I have the DVD in my hand, and I'm just like, would you fucking mind like just signing the DVD for me? And he's like, yeah, sure, man. He's like, who do you want it made out to? And he's just like done with talking to people at this point, because I'm sure he's just like fed up. And I'm like, can you just write the word log jammer on there? And he looked at me like he just looked up and goes, he's like a log jammer. And I'm like, Yeah, logjammer. He's like, fucking word, dude, gotcha. And then just like brightened up his day for a sec. And I'm just like, cool, thanks, man. And I just walked away.
That's awesome. Logjammer.
Can you just write logjammer on there for me?
I met
my God.
the guitar player from the Black Dahlia Murder one time, and well, it's not that I didn't know who he was, but I was so fucking socially awkward. Like, I didn't know what to say to him. I went to go see them at BB King's, and as we're walking downstairs, the guy's standing at the door with the guy taking tickets, like with a drink in his hand.
Yeah.
Just shooting the shit.
As we found out musicians just do.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we walked past him, and I was with, guess who I was with at this fucking show?
Who?
Doink. Came with me to
Nice.
see the Black Dahlia Murder
Nice.
with Dying Fetus,
Nice.
3 Inches of Blood, and Hate Eternal.
Nice. Fucking nice.
I got this kid and his fro to go to this fucking show.
Very nice.
So, yeah, so we get there. Show's amazing. Hate Eternal shows up literally as the venue is clearing out. They were like, wait. No, we didn't play. And then as we're leaving, I see Brian walking around with a drink. And I'm like, yo, buddy, that was awesome. And he was like, cool, man.
Yeah.
And like walked away.
That's what I'm paid to do, bruv. Go see it back.
I had fucking weed on me. I wanted to be like, yo, you want to smoke pot with me, my friend? But
Which would have been the correct question.
Yeah, it would have been the correct question. I've came to find out, but yeah, man.
100% would have been the correct question to ask, because that's just how you hang out with people who are on the road at nonstop.
Right.
Because that was like when I was, I'm sure it was the same with you. Once we started doing like a lot more tour runs, it became one of those things where you're like hanging out with all these people you probably thought you'd never fucking hang out with. Number one. And then you end up just treating them like average human beings, so that social fucking awkwardness of like, oh, you know, these guys are these people goes away, and it's just like it's more like the social awkwardness of that's just another human being.
No, I'm still fucking
do you still do it?
super awkward around people.
I can't.
Except one time, I got to smoke a blunt with Josh Travis, and he was cool, but he took my shades.
He stole your sunglasses. I remember you telling me that. Yeah.
I'm still a little upset about it, only because they were fucking cool. It was the only pair I had, and they said sober goggles on the side. And I used to get really fucked up on tour, so I would just wear my sober goggles around.
There you go.
Because nobody needs to know.
No, as many of the guys as I've met that I thought like, oh, if I meet these guys, it's going to be somewhat awkward. But the more I was on the road and everything, the more I was like, these are like, for instance, the lead singer of like Oceano and shit like that. And the first time I met him, he was like nose deep into his Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Just like so in it to win it. Like, and I was just like, oh, he's just a fucking nerd. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can just talk to this motherfucker.
They're good dudes. I was hanging out with them.
The same thing goes with like just about anybody. The only person I've ever had, I wouldn't say an issue with, but the only person I've ever had that just seemed very unresponsive to like anybody, or just didn't want to deal with anybody. It's like, all right, well, fuck that guy. Like, he doesn't want to hang out with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Was that Russian dude from fucking whatever that big fucking metal band is now.
Slaughter to Prevail.
Like, I'm sure he's a nice dude, and maybe like I always put the benefit of doubt. Like, it was just a day he didn't want to deal with anybody.
Yeah.
Which we all have those fucking days. But he like locked himself in his like fucking in his van during the show, and he just didn't come out except for the show, and then just went right back into the van again. Which I'm like, dude, I get it. Everybody has those fucking moments, and everybody I've heard that has talked to that dude is like, oh, he's a real nice dude. Like, he's nice. And I'm like, all right, well, you know, cool. I mean, everybody else on this fucking tour run was all hanging out together, and he's the only one he didn't want to fucking hang out. Nah.
Right.
You know, at that moment, fuck him.
Also, I'll give that amount of rope to vocalists sometimes, because they like sometimes to write shit they gotta dig real deep, and doing that as often as they have to do it to write lyrics is not okay for the brain. So like, if they're a little weird, like goalie-ish, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'll give it to them.
I mean, I will honestly say that that was the one we did with Aversion's Crown. Fallujah, I think, was on that one too. And Slaughter to Prevail was on that show.
Holy deathcore.
That was a fucking banging show.
Sounds like it.
And all really fucking good dudes. And and that was the Oceano one too. So it was Slaughter to Prevail, Oceano.
Was this Summer Slaughter?
I think so, yeah. and the Virgin's Crown and all this other. Virgin's Crown was, those dudes are fucking maniacs.
Yeah.
But
They're
it was their first
heavy
time
as
from
fuck.
Australia into the United States, so they were going extra hard.
See, I didn't know that much about them.
Yeah.
Like, they're from Australia. I know Australian people fucking get
after it. But this is like a dude who's like, it's his first time in the U.S. The lead singer was the guy that I had, we all spent time with the most.
Right. Yeah.
And this dude, when I tell you that he was going so hard in the paint on everything, like...
Are you thinking of... What's the other one? Last 10? Not Last 10.
Less Than Seconds of Life?
No, that's not the band I'm thinking of.
Well, no, this is the Virgin's Crown that I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah, no, sorry. I was thinking of another band that's from Australia.
Oh, the other, like, deathcore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
CJ was his name.
Mm-hmm.
He was singing for Lorna, and then he got in some trouble.
No, CJ isn't, and he isn't Australian.
Oh.
No, CJ is from New York.
I'm getting confused.
Anyway, but yeah, the guy from A Virgin's Crown, the lead singer or whatever, met us like as soon as we parked, and his like fucking like dude was coked out of his fucking mind.
Oof.
And we pulled up, and he was sitting in the parking lot, ready to party. And like we opened the van, and he just showed up. He's like, "Are y'all guys in the fucking band?" And we're like, yeah. And he's like, "Word, how ready are y'all to go right now?" And we're just like, we're ready.
So ready?
We're ready, dude. And he's like, "Good. Do you have anything to fucking drink? The bar isn't open yet." And we're like, "Yeah, we have some fucking whiskey and some vodka and shit." He's like, "Bust it open."
Whoa.
So we busted open. We're just sitting outside the van fucking drinking with this dude like as soon as we fucking
Ready
show up.
to get down to it.
And this dude, when I tell you, he went so hard. But he was like the friendliest little Australian man. And like you couldn't help but like love this guy. And like the whole night he's going, and then he has to play the show, and he is up there, and you see him just fucking like sweating, and like all the things he did is taking effect to the fact that he has to perform this like extreme metal fucking shit.
Yeah.
So he's like ripping off fucking clothes, and he's like fucking like you see him, and then after the show we see him again. We're like, "Hey man, like how are you living right now?" And he was like, "It's my first time in the U.S. I've done too much. I think I need a break." And like he just like goes and passes out. And he's just like, oh, from what I heard afterwards, like somebody checked up on him again at the Summer Slaughter thing. I think we did another show with him. We ended up in Long Island at the Reverb with him. So we met up with him again. We're like, dude.
Wait, Reverb?
The Reverb. It was the one, it's like.
That was in Reading.
No, there's one in Long Island.
Is there?
Yeah.
Oh, I never played that one.
The Reverb, there's one in Long Island. I think it's owned by the same people.
Okay.
But it has like, you go in and the stage is like in the corner over here and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice venue.
Yeah.
But we go in and we see him again. And we're just like, "Dude, how are you? How you doing?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "I haven't touched anything since we last talked."
Yeah, I'm sober. I'm Christian
He's
now.
like, "Oh yeah," it's like, "I found Jesus." It's all good. Like we're fine. We're gonna go up there and do slow R&B tunes. We're not even doing. But yeah, he was like, "I haven't touched anything." Like he's like, I think I went a little bit hard. I was too excited about being here. He was like, "It's amazing how many things you can do while you're here in America doing this shit." And I'm like, "All right, dude. Like,
yeah,
I'm glad you're doing better. Like, I'm glad you feel better."
Yeah, man. I haven't run into too many.
He was a fucking sweetheart, though. That dude is fucking hilarious. And it's there's just nothing better than having somebody in that state with an Australian accent. The only thing that would beat that is like a New Zealand accent.
Yeah.
But like an Australian accent of somebody ready to party, it's the best thing on earth.
Yeah.
Like Australians who are ready to get it in, they can hype any situation up into like the best time.
Yeah, man.
And it's just the accent.
I haven't run into too many people, too many like musicians that like partied too hard like at the show. I don't have a whole lot of those experiences, but I remember
think it's more along the lines of just like the entrance into a new location type of thing. That was the first time in the States.
Oh yeah, he was pumped.
But even my cousin Chris, who was in See You Next Tuesday, he was like, "Yeah, I was telling him the story of it, and he's like, dude, the first time I went to Europe was the exact same thing. Like, as soon as I got off the plane in Europe, I'm like, it is fucking party time.
Yep,
I'm in
go
Europe.
time.
Like, it's just about being in, like, a new culture, and, like, you're like, for some reason, the brain switches over to, like, there's no repercussion to this new area.
I'm never going to see
this
these
is a
people
fresh
again.
start. I can start at ground zero,
Right.
and just move my way up. Like, that's all I have to do.
It's that vacation mindset.
Yeah.
Like you go into some other country or something like that, and it's just like, I'm literally never going to see any of you again. So I can make whatever kind of impression I want to.
Now I'm going to get severely fucked up.
Right.
It's vacation time.
Yeah.
Which is funny because you're still doing the exact same work.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. But yeah, that one was hilarious.
I remember one time we were playing Gramercy. It was for the All-Stars tour. And we were the first band. We were the local opener. And then like a couple other bands played. And then Structures was about to go on. Or they were supposed to go on.
Real quick, just as a question, was Tom Smith playing with Structures on that tour? Or was that afterwards?
No.
I think he might have been playing with
this
Fit
was
for an Autopsy.
Right before
He was playing with Fit.
he was playing with them. So as the band that's playing before Structures is supposed to go on is playing their set, people start to wonder where Structures is because they haven't showed up yet. So then I see a van come flying down fucking 23rd Street. Skirt! The drummer, Andrew, jumps out, comes running over to me as I'm breaking down my shit on the sidewalk. He's like, yo, man, can you watch the van? We were supposed to go on. And I was like, I guess. And then, like, somebody else had, I guess, taken the responsibility, and they're like, I got you. And I was like, good, because I didn't want to be responsible for this shit, and I wanted to watch you fucking play.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just crazy that they pulled up, like, the last second. And it's funny because that's the second time since, Hate Eternal did that shit. It's the second time I've been there for shit like that. I mean, bands run late a lot of the time, I
mean, I get it. Things happen when you're driving around.
Yeah,
it
fucking
happens.
traffic, especially in Manhattan. And it's funny because both shows people were in Manhattan.
Oh, dude, getting around Manhattan is an absolute nightmare.
So, yeah.
Even when you're on
nightmare.
time, it becomes an absolute nightmare.
Right.
Trying to find, like, parking and shit for whatever reason, and then also, like, God forbid you're just not familiar with Manhattan.
Yeah.
And, like, even though Manhattan's on a grid, it's still an absolute nightmare to find the right way to get to places if you're not from there.
Yeah,
like,
one wrong turn is an added 20 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy.
Well, I get that 110%. But, like, what do you call it? What was the other there was some other fucking show we played, and I feel like it wasn't when we played. It was when I had to drive Ricky's fucking laptop to Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I wasn't with you for that one. I wanted to come, but I think I had something going on.
Yeah, I had to. Ricky left his laptop with me, and Ricky's laptop is his whole life.
That was
at least at that point in time.
That was like right after you were doing merch for them for a little while. That's why you had it in the first place.
Yeah, I didn't even do really merch for them. I would help them out with certain things here and there, but like it was another thing where it's like they did a lot of shows with Beyond Dishonor and stuff too. So there was just people I knew kind of everywhere, and to be honest with you, I don't go to shows really on a whim. Like if it's not with people I know,
right.
I go and I hang out with people I know.
Yeah.
Because at that point it's just more of like being able to see friends more than anything else.
Yeah. It's a big party at the end of the day.
Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, dude, I'll drive to Gettysburg. He's like, I left my laptop with you. Is there any way you can get it to me? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, where are you? He's like, well, we're playing a show in Gettysburg. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'll just fucking drive to Gettysburg. And he's like, you're gonna what? And I'm like, I'm just gonna drive to Gettysburg. He's like, that's like a fucking 4-hour fucking trip. I'm like, what else am I gonna fucking do?
I love you, Ricky.
I got nothing else to fucking do. But I'm like, Beyond Dishonor was playing it, and I the Breather, and This or the Apocalypse. So I'm like, I'll just drive up there. We'll fucking party a little bit.
Yeah, and like, you just gave me plans.
Yeah, exactly. So I drive up there. I drop his stuff off. This is when they played. All right, Gettysburg is exactly what you'd imagine Gettysburg to be, if just by hearing Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. If like you're from America, you have any sort of history.
Yeah, like
imagine
real
Gettysburg.
Colonial looking.
Yeah, imagine Gettysburg. And now imagine the people of Gettysburg. That's who's there.
I just imagine all Civil War reenactors.
Yeah, exactly. That's who's there. And it's all Civil War reenactors, and it's all like church. Like, it's like the Bible Belt of the North type stuff. Like, it's weird.
Oh yeah, aren't they kind of like on a line with like West Virginia and shit like that?
Yeah, it's an odd spot.
Yeah.
So at the time, when I get there anyway, I show up, I run into the Beyond Dishonor guys. Like, hey guys, what's up? And they're like, what the hell are you doing here? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, yeah, Ricky left his stuff with me, and I just saw that come through, and they're like, oh, word. Mike had his like growlers full of like beer and stuff, and I'm like, all right, pour that shit. We're in like the parking lot of like a youth center. You know what I mean? Like a church youth center.
The fucking best that he would bring his own beer to bars that we were.
If I made beer, that's what I would do. You have an endless supply of beer, you bet your butt. Like, I'm bringing
no, I don't want your
growlers.
shit. I got my own.
I got my
stuff.
own. But yeah, no,
And it was
we're
always Bubba's, and it was always banging.
We're always we were in the parking lot of a youth center like venue type thing. This is a Christian youth center venue.
Yeah.
With Beyond Dishonor, This of the Apocalypse, and Either Breather. So we're sitting in the parking lot just drinking in the parking lot of this youth center, and I had a bottle of Jack Daniels in my car, and by the time this had all happened, like, we're halfway through like these growlers, and I'm drinking hot car Jack Daniels, and it's it's hot.
Yeah, they'll put some fucking
Hot
hair
whiskey.
in your chest.
It's hot whiskey. And we go in, the show starts playing or whatever, and this is one of those things where like, this is the date, you can ask Reese about this if he remembers. He drops the N-bomb in a church, and they have to pull him aside to talk to him. And mind you, I'm drunk.
Wasn't this like the time that he was like, I'm not going to do this anymore?
Yeah. And he busted out the N-bomb in the middle of Clayton Bisbee. Yeah. And like, you see the youth counselors in the back who allowed this stuff to happen have small heart attacks.
Yeah.
I am on side stage on the ground laughing. Like, just dying laughing, because you know that bit's gonna come, and when it does, like, I'm sitting there like with my hands just up to my chin, just like, please do it, don't censor it, do it. And he lets it out, and I die. Like, I'm on the ground, and you just see these counselors and everything just like, oh Jesus, I would hate this. And like a group of kids who are all probably expecting like these bands to be like the like Crown or something, like where they're just like, all right, man, after this we're all gonna have a fucking prayer circle.
Yeah.
Everybody hold hands. They booked like the 3 or 4 bands that absolutely not.
Right.
And that happens. After that, they pull Reese into like a back room and give him a talking to, and it's the best thing ever. Like, he gets like reprimanded from this shit.
Oh god.
And after that is when so this like kills the vibe of this entire venue.
Do you remember the name of the venue by
I
any
don't.
chance?
It's in the middle of Gettysburg someplace, and I doubt they're ever having a show again. Like,
it wasn't the ground floor, was it?
No, I don't think so.
Because I'm pretty sure that happened to Reese at the ground floor as well.
I don't know. I don't know if it was, because it wasn't a venue. It was just like a youth center someplace. So I don't know.
Well, yeah, no. So was this place,
Okay.
but it was run by a church, and they told us like no cussing, this and that, and we were like, fuck that. Like,
I don't know. Reese never told me he had done that before there, so I don't know. Because usually he'd be like, I played the place before for you, got in trouble, blah, blah, blah.
Dude.
But he,
it was so weird.
That
being
happened
on my side of that bit, like doing the kick drum and then just watching everyone like,
yeah, the whole fucking vibe to this place changed, and
suck the air out of the room with that one.
Yeah, dude, and like everybody in the crowd becomes very kind of standoffish and skittish.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because the next band that has to come on is This or the Apocalypse. And if you've ever seen This or the Apocalypse, Ricky as a front man will fucking talk shit to your face.
Yes.
And that's what he proceeded to do. He was like, I don't give a fuck what you care about or how you, like, what you stand for, this, and this. You came to a fucking show to have a good time. And he's, like, pointing at individual people. Like, he's just like, don't be a fucking bitch. Like, get up and do something.
You uncross your arms. You hop in the pit next time.
And
he was
like,
shaking your leg.
He was like, I'm not the type of dude who's gonna ask you to come and ask for forgiveness for me after this show or this and this. Right. He was like, just fucking have a good time and let's just call a spade kind of thing. Like, you're at a metal show, like, don't act like a bitch. And he starts doing this stuff and starts eyeing down the counselors and like fucking pointing at them. He's like, don't be a fucking bitch.
Yep.
Like, and all this other stuff, and just continues to like just badger these people with insults after they've already felt bad that they've like disrespected the Lord in this house and like all this other stuff. And again, like, I'm on the ground crying, laughing.
Yeah.
Like, these people are destroying this group of religious people's like whole outlook on shit. And the best part about it is none of them leave. They just stand there and take it.
Yeah.
And they're standing there and just taking it. And by the time like the breather goes on, it's just like this mood in this building. And the best part is like right before like this or the apocalypse is set in, Ricky comes over to the side of stage and he kind of bends over at me and he's like, go get the whiskey. And I'm like, all right, dude. So I run out to my car, I pour like 2 shot glasses full of whiskey and I run him back inside to this venue and I put him side stage or whatever. And I don't think he realized the fact that it was hot whiskey, but he goes and he takes a fucking swig of this stuff on stage. He goes, oh, fuck, what the fuck, Pat? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll drink it. And I just fucking down it or whatever. But yeah, that whole scenario was hilarious. But the best part is right before that all happened, Ricky and I were like, because this is like a fucking thing. And anytime Ricky and I are at a show, we're like, we need to go on a scavenger hunt for something that's nowhere close to this fucking venue. Like 20 minutes before we have to go and do something at this venue. So we go out and we go to like this little corner store that's maybe like 15 or 20 minutes down the road. I drive down there and we walk in, and like I said, the way you would imagine Gettysburg, the people of Gettysburg, that's Gettysburg. So we walk into this corner store and Ricky walks in first. Ricky is mixed like me, but Ricky doesn't look like it. Ricky looks like he could pass as much more of a Caucasian than I can. Yeah. But we walk in. I walk in after him. No one pays mind to Ricky. As soon as I walk in, everybody's heads turn. And Ricky notices, as Ricky does. And before we even do anything, he gets like 3 steps into the fucking, like, the store. And I get like a step and a half, like the little door thing rings. And it's like, bing, 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 bing. And everybody looks at me. And Ricky goes, this isn't where we should be. And we walk right back out and get back in the car and drive back.
This isn't where we should be.
He's like, he's dead serious. He just looks at me and goes, this isn't where we should be. Like, he felt so uncomfortable. And he like walks out and I follow him. I'm like, listen, Rick, if you need something from that store, I have no problem going back in there with you. Like, I'll antagonize the shit out of whatever scenario happens, just to let you know. But like, we can face this head on as friends. And he was just like, I don't even want to know what the fuck those people were thinking when you walked in there. Yeah, and we headed out of that fucking shit so quick. It was fucking hilarious.
That's great.
It was so good.
See, that's one of the things that I love about Ricky is like he makes a decision, and that's the fucking decision that he's made. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you know, I came here, should not be here, so I'm gonna leave, and that's that.
Well, like, he's one of those dudes. Like, I do it with you. I've done it with Josh, and you know you're a good friend of mine when like we go on little adventures here and there. Yeah. But like that became a thing. Like, we'd show up at shows and we'd just do an adventure and just try to get back in time to actually do our jobs, type of thing. Right. And it happened. The same thing happened.
Unnecessary anxiety on the situation.
Exactly. The same thing happened in Trenton at Champs, because he looked at me. And we were both just sitting there having a beer or whatever, and he just looked at me and goes, do you want to try to find tacos? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, I want to try to find tacos. And we're like, all right, so we open up the GPS on our phones. We're like, the closest taco place is like a 10-minute drive. And he was like, let's just walk. And I'm like, okay, like, sure, whatever, dude.
All right, Rick.
And we walk for a while in the middle of downtown Trenton, trying to find this fucking taco place. We find it, and we get our tacos. They're fucking good. And we get in there, and he looks at his clock or whatever, and he's like, "Oh fuck, I gotta get back." And when he says that, it sounds calm, and then he just starts booking it, like running. I haven't gotten into all my tacos, so I have this white container full of like tacos and like whatever. And I'm like just running behind this guy with a fucking container full of tacos, like blocks to blocks, like through the middle of Trenton, just two dudes running. And it just looks like a white dude running from a black dude with a container full of like
tacos for you.
And we're just booking it. There's people out in the yards and stuff, like just looking at what looks like me chasing this guy with this container of food. And we get back to the venue eventually, like just sweating and panting. And like the rest of his band sees us like come in, and they're already on stage, like just finishing sound check. He runs up on stage, grabs the mic, and I'm running directly behind him with this thing of food, and I stop side stage, open it up, and start eating tacos. Like nothing's wrong.
Now I can enjoy this.
And everybody's just looking at me, like Jack the guitar player's just looking at me like, what the fuck happened? And I'm like, we had to get these tacos.
We got tacos.
We got tacos. And I don't know why you look confused about this whole thing. Like I didn't understand how he looked confused at two people just busting in the door, fucking ready to go.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
Ricky's like the dude, like you said, when he was like, let's just walk. Like he's a dude that says some shit like that, and you just don't question it. It's like, all right,
you can't.
I mean, the stake, because it's not your stakes to bear. It's his show. He's the one who's got to be back. But you're just like, all right.
But also,
man,
he does it in a way that you can't question it, because his whole thing with like
demeanor.
he would have so much meaning as to why he has to do this. So he's like, I got to get my workout in, and I want to go get tacos because I want to actually practice my Spanish, because I'm trying to learn Spanish. So you're just looking at him like, all right, you're just trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
Like you're trying to better yourself.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I mean, I can get behind
and
it.
I'll allow it.
I can get behind it for blocks with tacos in hand.
Exactly. But he has to bring you along for it, and then you get those situations where you're just like, oh god damn it, Rick. But he's also the type of dude, like he'll sit in a car, like with me for instance. Like I was driving him through PA one day, and it was just a quiet car ride, and then he looked over to me and he went, "Hey Pat." I'm like, "Yeah, Rick, what's up? What kind of church do your people go to?" And I looked at him, and it like broke my brain. Like I'm like, wait, what? What do you mean you are people?
Yeah.
And he's like, do they sing a lot? like that's it.
Yeah. They
like
do.
Those
Rick.
are the conversations we have.
Yes. I'm one of those kinds of people. What a fucking question. What
He's
kind
so
of church
good.
do your people go
Hey,
to?
it's just in the middle of nothing. Like that's the way his brain works. He just looked over to me and he goes, "What kind of church do your people go to?" I'm like, "What?"
I love that question, because you could tell he was pondering that for a while,
for a minute in
before
the
he
silence
fucking asked.
before he asked. And I was just like, dude, what? And like as soon as he sees that you're broken, he's just like, they sing a lot. And I'm like, this is why we're friends. Like this is exactly why we're friends.
Yeah, man.
Because if you ask, I think I asked him too, I'm like, would you ask that to any other? He was like, oh fuck no. Absolutely not. You're my pass. Like I get to ask you those things because you find them funny. And he was like, I think you're like, dude, that's why we're friends, because at the end of the day, like 100%, like I can find that fucking hilarious, but I'm sure there's no way that some of the other people around him would ever. They would just be like, dude, why would you ask that?
Oh no, you said it to the wrong person, you're getting punched in the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, the good old days. Anyway, I think that's it.
Today's final thoughts.
Oh man. How far would you walk for tacos?
That's a good question. I'm gonna have to ponder that one.
Yeah. That's our final thoughts. Our final thoughts are, how far would you walk for tacos? I've gotten a good 20-25 minute walk in, which I'm pretty sure is at least a mile or two, right?
Yep. I would say so.
I've gotten a decent workout for tacos. But how far would you walk? That's what I need to know.
I'm gonna think about this one, and we'll touch on it.
Oh, by the way, we have started up YouTube called Bravo Gentlemen.
Yes.
We're doing a playthrough of Divinity right now, and we're going to do some other videos on there too, so make sure you go to
Bravo Gentlemen.
Bravo Gentlemen on YouTube.
Yes.
Do we have a URL for that?
No, just go to the search bar, type in Bravo Gentlemen, and
Hopefully we pop up.
we will.
Okay.
It was the second one today when I looked.
Oh, that's super.
Yeah.
So search us up on YouTube, and then we're streaming on Twitch. Vinny is Vinny Drums 3825, and I am Cricket. I forgot.
642. Cricket 642.
There it is. Cricket 642 on Twitch, and we play Twitch quite often. So come through and talk to us,
Yep.
and check out the YouTube's thing. By the time this comes out, we'll probably have a few more videos out, and it would be dope if you liked and subscribed and kept up with us.
Yeah, follow on Twitch and come hang out with us. We got some fun stuff for you guys.
Fuck yeah. Anyway, peace.
Later.